and I won't back down. Hey, baby, there ain't no easy way out.
Hey, everybody. Thanks so much for joining us right here on The Right View. What a show we have for you tonight. But before we start, I want to tell you about one of our sponsors, AMAC. As we approach another critical election, a wave of concern washes over America. Recent studies reveal that an astonishing 56% of our fellow citizens report feelings of anxiety or dread about the upcoming presidential election. That's why I stand with AMAC. AMAC is more than a senior discount organization. During these challenging times, they fight for common sense and hope that our nation returns to traditional American values. Visit amac.us/Lara today to seize an exclusive election year special, a 4-year AMAC membership for just $30. As an AMAC member, you not only enjoy money-saving benefits, but also the AMAC magazine, free Social Security and Medicare advice, a trusted voice in Washington, and a community of like-minded patriots who love this great nation. By becoming an AMAC member, you're strengthening a movement dedicated to preserving the principles we hold dear. Take advantage of this election year special, a 4-year for $30 membership, and be part of the solution over the next 4 years. You can join us now at amac.us/Lara. That's amac.us/LARA. Tonight, we have back, I think she's one of my favorite guests we've ever had. You know her. She's the 2020 presidential candidate, former Congresswoman, Lieutenant Colonel in the U.S. Army Reserve, and she has a new book, For Love of Country. It's out now. Our friend, welcome back, Tulsi Gabbard.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So nice to see you again, even from afar.
Even from afar. We'll take you however we can get you. I just said to you, I feel like you're everywhere. I'm everywhere. The fact that we could find a time to connect is great.
It's quite impressive, actually.
I'm impressed with both of us, to be honest with you. But you really are. I think you're one of the most interesting people that I have had on this show. Your story, I think, so many people are interested in because you left the Democrat Party. You were very open about your reasons for doing it. And now, as though you don't have enough going on, traveling across the country, back and forth, you're everywhere. You have a new book, For Love of Country, Leave the Democrat Party Behind. Tell us a little bit about it. I mean, I gather it's got a little bit of your story in there and what happened.
Yeah, thanks, Lara. You know, this book is coming out actually at a really important time. I wish I could say I planned it this way. I took longer writing it than I had expected. It was supposed to come out last fall, but I'm grateful for the opportunity now to be able to share those experiences that I've had, joining the Democrat Party over 20 years ago, and really the direction that it's taken, especially over the last, 5, 6, 7 years very far away from the party that I joined, a party that was once, celebrating free speech, willing to stand up and defend free speech, even for those that they disagreed with strongly, even for those whose speech they may have found offensive, understanding the importance of free speech and civil liberties, and a party that really was the champion of the little guy, of the everyday American. When you look at the Democrat Party of today, and this is what I get into in my book, is what I saw over my 8 years in Congress, what I experienced as a vice chair of the Democratic National Committee for 4 years, what I experienced as a 2020 presidential candidate in the Democratic primary, where along the way I was trying to bring about some positive change within the party, to bring it back to the party of JFK and Martin Luther King, and how I was not only met with disinterest by many, but actual hostility.
Wow.
Leaders of the Democrat elite who have really become the party of the elite, a party that advocates for censorship, for determining themselves who gets to have free speech and who does not deserve free speech. The list goes on and on about the egregious and insane policies and actions of the Democrat elite today, led by President Biden and Kamala Harris. And that's really what this book is about. It's about sounding the alarms. This is the most important election of my life. our freedom and our future in this country, our ability to live in a free and peaceful society is what is at stake in this election. As you know very well, there are many voters in this country who feel politically homeless. You know, there are President Biden supporters who are already committed. There are President Trump supporters who are already committed. But there's a significant group of people who don't quite know what to do. For those who already get the fact that we're not headed in a good direction as a country at a basic level of understanding, my book provides detailed examples and personal experiences that prove why they're feeling that way and just encourages them to take a stand for freedom, because that is the only way we get our country back on track.
It's so true. And, you said something that I think is interesting. It's funny because earlier today, I was with a friend of mine and she happens to be Jewish. And we were talking about the situations at, all over these college campuses across the country. And she specifically said, she sort of said what you did, which is that this is such a pivotal time right now because we have to stand up for our freedom of speech, and we have to stand up for the speech that offends us the most. That is the most important, actually, to stand up for. And that is really just sort of what this country was founded upon. That's what our founders had in mind for us whenever, they formed this country, when the idea of America started. And we are seeming to lose that in many spaces. I think a lot of people who find themselves on the right side of the political aisle feel like their voices haven't mattered for a long time. Like they have really no space where they feel free to express what they think and they feel. And that is a scary place to be in America. And you just talked about the fact that your book was supposed to come out last year. It's probably maybe just shy of a year delayed, but you said you actually feel like it's coming out at the right time. Why do you think this is the right time for your book? And what made you really want to put your story down on paper for people to read?
Yeah, so I'll answer your last question first. I agree, first of all, strongly with what you and your friend talked about. It's easy for people to say, well, this is hate speech, or this is offensive, or this is misinformation or disinformation, and all of that speech should be silenced. Even people who may have good intentions. The truth is, though, as soon as you take that step of having someone determine who is not allowed to express themselves freely, the First Amendment in the Bill of Rights, which guarantees that freedom, then it is just a matter of time. It may be tomorrow, it may be next year, or it may be in 10 years that the tables will be turned, right? And your speech will be the one that someone else in power finds offensive or finds to be hate speech or determines to be misinformation or disinformation. And that's really the message and takeaway that folks who read my book will get, is that, politics, as you know very well, probably more than most, it is noisy, it's messy, it can get very toxic, it can get very personal. A lot of emotions and attacks and smears go left and right. But too often, and especially as we're seeing now, these attacks and smears that you and your family are experiencing, that I have experienced throughout my time, even in the Democratic Party, they are done to distract voters away from the truth and the facts and the record and the substance that we really should be making decisions on as we're looking at who do we want to fill these really powerful and important positions of leadership. So we can't fall for that distraction and deflection tactic, and instead should look at the reality of the threats that we are facing, fundamental and at the heart of which is this threat on our freedom. And so when you look at, as you talked about, there are people who are Republican or conservatives or peaceful pro-life protesters or Christians, and people who have been directly or indirectly targeted as those who should not be heard from. This it has to be known that there is a concerted and intentional effort to silence people in America, our fellow Americans, and they are justifying it as though it is somehow some righteous cause. That is what is so dangerous. When we look at the mindset behind the Democrat elite and the Biden-Harris administration, they have no problem completely tearing apart and destroying our Constitution and Bill of Rights because they think that they are saving the American people from making, the quote unquote wrong choice in this election, that we're somehow too stupid to carry on the task of defending our democracy and defending freedom. And so they are dangerously doing everything they possibly can to take our freedoms away, to exert more control, and all of that leading to them being able to remain in power. I have seen so much over my years in politics, experienced so much, and feel that this book is coming out at the perfect time because of what we are facing right now. I had a conversation with someone yesterday who was in a good-hearted way making the argument that, hey, there has been an imbalance of power in this country for so long. There are minorities and others who feel like their voices have not been heard, that their stories have not been told, and that others who have had, the positions of power for so long, their voices should be suppressed. They should be censored to allow this other group of people to have their voices heard and their stories told.
Wow.
And it's this gets into the whole identity politics problem. This gets into, what lots of kids are being taught in schools about how if you're white, you're an oppressor. If you are a person of color, you are the oppressed, and you should have certain rights, one over the other, because of the history of our nation, and really all of this defying the vision that Martin Luther King laid out for us, that we see beyond color, that we see each other as children of God, that we see each other as fellow Americans with equal rights for all. And that the fact that suppression of free speech, censorship, trying to remove President Trump from the ballot, trying to weaponize or successfully weaponizing the Department of Justice against President Biden's primary political opponent, all of these measures point to an egregious and intentional abuse of power that's occurring, where if it's allowed to stand, again, dismiss the emotions or the style criticisms or whatever the noise is around the people who are running for office, whether it's President Biden or President Trump. Look at the facts that if we as voters allow this precedent to stand, it will become the new norm, and our country will become no better than many of the banana republics or dictatorships that we see in other parts of the world, where the party in power retaliates and targets their political opposition. We can't allow it to happen.
Yeah, and I'm going to just go out on a limb here and predict that one day we will get the full picture as to what has occurred. I don't think it will shock anyone, Tulsi, if we find out one day that all of this originated from the top, that whether we're talking about Fannie Willis in Georgia, whether we're talking about Alvin Bragg, Letitia James, Jack Smith, this all came from one location, and it's at 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue. And it is so dangerous, as you just point out, to our country, to the future of our country. It is just completely antithetical to everything this country stands for and was founded upon. And I think it was really brave of you at a certain point to take a look at a party that you'd been a part of for a long time. As you point out, you were a congresswoman from Hawaii, and say, I can't do this anymore. This party, I think I've heard you say, left me. And, you didn't change. The party obviously changed. But from the outside, if you look at your resume as a congresswoman, active duty lieutenant colonel in the Army Reserves, in your 21st year now, vice chair of the DNC, it appeared to a lot of people, I think, like you were almost being groomed in a way to be the future of the party. Did you feel that way at the time? Did you ever think that, oh, well, this is their, I'm going to be the future here, and then something changed? How did you feel with all that?
Yeah, Lara, it's funny that you asked that question, because sometimes in different interviews, people are saying like, oh, your critics accuse you of taking the politically expedient step of leaving the Democrat Party because, there was no home for you anymore. You were just trying to get ahead politically. But the reality is that, number one, I've never made any political decisions based on political expedience. And that's proof if you look at what's happened throughout my time in politics. But when I was first elected to Congress, there were a lot of things that happened that I certainly did not seek out and I didn't expect, and that were very surprising to me. For example, I won my primary election, which was essentially the final election. There was no real general election challenger. And within a couple of weeks, I was asked to go and speak at the Democratic National Convention during prime time about veterans. I got a call from Nancy Pelosi. I said, yeah, of course, I would love to take that opportunity. A few short months later, I was sworn in as a member of Congress. And after being a member of Congress for about a week or two, I got a call saying, would you like to be vice chair of the DNC? And maybe you can relate to this in some manner. My response to that phone call was like, what does the vice chair of the DNC do?
Yeah, let me look up what the requirements are and what the job description is.
Exactly. What do you want from me? What are you asking of me? I got a call. I was in Congress maybe, I don't know, 6 months or 7 months.
Wow.
And my press secretary came in my office and she says, oh my gosh, Anna Wintour from Vogue magazine wants to do a multi-page profile on you. And I literally sat in my chair totally skeptical. And I was like, this is crazy. Like, I will not do pictures in a bikini on the beach in Hawaii. I am not interested. And make sure you call them back and see if they got the right person. Because I am not known for, I grew up as a tomboy. Like, I had surf shorts and t-shirts was my day to day. I'm not anything remotely close to anything the fashion world would be interested in.
You could have been at the Met Gala in one of those ridiculous outfits that look like giant garbage bags or whatever they're doing over there.
Fashion has become questionable in some ways. I'll stick with my safe little blazer here.
Yeah.
But all of these things were happening, and I just it caught me by surprise. But it all started to fall away very quickly when the Democratic Party realized that I was not there for that reason. I was not there to climb the ladder of democratic politics. I was there to serve my country, to honor my brothers and sisters in uniform who serve and those who never came home. And within a few months, I took a very strong position against a policy that President Obama put forward and stated the reasons why, and was immediately admonished by the White House, essentially saying, how dare you go against your president? Not interested at all about the reasons why or the experience that I had having served in 2 Middle East deployments at that time. It was just, why are you not a part? Why are you not a team player? And so from that point on, as you can imagine, the invites to fancy parties stopped coming, which is just fine by me. All of that is to say, if I wanted to take the politically expeditious path, it wouldn't surprise me, and I'm not saying this from an arrogant statement, but it wouldn't surprise me to have been asked to be a vice president by the current president, for example.
Wow.
Already. My loyalty, my allegiance, my commitment, and my passion for service is to serve our country and to make a positive impact on the American people. And that's why this book and this message is so important right now. After I announced that I was leaving the Democratic Party, I started getting all kinds of calls and messages from people I'd never met from all across the country saying, thank you for saying what I've been feeling for so long, but have been too terrified to say out loud.
Wow. Because
of this cancel culture, because they're afraid of losing their job, or because they're afraid of getting their social media account canceled. There is a very real existential threat that we face right now. And the call to action in the book is, we're the only ones who can save us, we the people.
Yep. And that's who's supposed to be in control of this country.
Exactly.
We're supposed to have the power, not the small group of people in Washington, D.C. Speaking of the presidential race, we last had you on about a year ago, May of 2023. That was kind of before. I know. Can you imagine that? It seems like it was yesterday, but
I know.
It was really before the big 2024 race heated up, and people really weren't paying as much attention then to the race.
Yeah.
But you have been traveling the country nonstop. You've been giving speeches everywhere. You're meeting people. What have you been seeing? What is it that you're feeling on the ground? What are people saying to you right now as we head into, as you said, and I couldn't agree more, this is the most critical election, I think, of any of our lifetimes right now?
People are looking for hope. There's so much darkness that surrounds us. Look at the consequences of President Biden's domestic policies. You turn on the news or you scroll through social media, you see on many fronts what's happening in different parts of the world, either wars being waged or proxy wars or tensions bubbling up, cold wars, economic wars. We are less secure and closer to the brink of nuclear war now than we have been before. And again, in my lifetime, there is so much concern that we are already lost, and people asking me, where can we find hope? Is it too late? Can we come back from this horrifying mess that we are in? And that's a sad thing to know, that that's where a lot of people's hearts are right now. But I share with them, of course, there is hope. First of all, as long as God exists and God is eternal, our hope springs from God's unconditional love for every one of us. So when we start from that point, we can find peace and shelter in God's love and find the strength to be able to persevere, the courage to speak the truth, and to stand strong in defense of this country that we love, in defense of freedom and each other. The ability for your kids, for example, to grow up in a country where they can live in peace and pursue prosperity. Every child in America should be able to look to the future and feel confident and comfortable in the fact that they can pursue whatever it is they choose to pursue. They can believe and form views in whatever way they wish, that they can speak freely and express themselves, worship in the way that we choose. All of those things are being threatened right now, and dangerously. They're being threatened by the Democrat elite, who are, again, trying to deflect and distract us as voters away from what they're doing by saying, well, if you reelect President Trump, it may be the last election this country ever has.
Oh my gosh.
Our democracy will be doomed. He will be a dictator, all of these things. But you look at what they're doing. They are doing.
It's like they're
everything
holding
that
a mirror in
him.
front of their
Exactly.
face as they say it. Yeah.
And it's intentional. Like they're not stupid. They're not demented. They're not crazy. It is intentional. And they have no qualms about destroying our country, undermining the rule of law, undermining freedom to get what they want. And that is such a dangerous mindset, again, that we see more often in dictatorships than we see in democracies.
I want to tell you about one of our sponsors, Swiss America. Our country's facing so many problems these days under Joe Biden. The last thing any of us need is more to worry about. Unfortunately, we now have to fear losing our freedom and privacy with the Democrats' new push for a digital dollar that could allow the government to tell us what we can and cannot buy with our own hard-earned money. That's why I'm encouraging every one of you tuning into the show right now to get The Secret War on Cash, an insightful report created by my friends at Swiss America. With this report, you'll learn how to protect yourself from the threats facing our freedom and your hard-earned money. The report is available right now to my listeners free of charge. Just call 800-289-2646 or visit www.swissamerica.com/Trump for your free report. You might have heard that Mike Lindell and MyPillow no longer have the support of their big box stores or shopping channels the way they used to. That's right, they've been part of cancel culture. So they want to pass the savings directly on to you by having a $25 extravaganza. When Mike started MyPillow, it was just a one-product company. But with the help of his dedicated employees, they now have hundreds of products, some you may not even know about. To get the word out, I want to invite my listeners to check out their $25 extravaganza. 2-pack multi-use MyPillows, just $25. MyPillow sandals, $25. Their 6-pack towel sets, $25. Brand new 4-pack dish towels, you guessed it, just $25. For the first time ever, the premium MyPillow with all new Giza fabric, just $25. And orders over $75 will receive free shipping. This amazing offer won't last long. Go to mypillow.com and use promo code Trump or call 800-624-3945 today. I'm sure you are a very recognizable person to a lot of folks. And as you travel all the time, Do you get a sense, because I feel like I have people reach out to me because they know it's safe to come to me and say, oh my gosh, I feel like maybe I voted Democrat my whole life, but I feel like I'm going to vote Trump this time. I think my views more align with Republicans, conservatives overall. Do you ever have people who come to you, maybe people who were your constituents at one time or former Democrats who say to you they really have had a change of viewpoint right now? Because I feel like if there was ever a time, Tulsi, where we have an opportunity, at least as a party, and obviously I'm the co-chair of the RNC, I'm trying to expand the tent of this party.
Yeah.
I want to make this a party where everyone feels welcome, where everyone knows you can come here. We want the best for you. We want a bright future. We want the future you just laid out. And we want our future generations to be able to look and say, yes, this is a country I feel good about living in. And yes, there are opportunities for me out there. What do you hear from people out there on that? Because they must seek you out to tell you these things.
They do, and I'm grateful for it, and I'm grateful to be able to connect with people again, who find a lot of similarities and resonance in my own experiences with the way that they have been waking up to the reality of how, yes, the Democrat Party left so many of us behind, and how they have completely lost the plot about what is most important in those positions, to be of service to the American people in our country. And again, I sound like a broken record, but to defend freedom, because that is what's on the line. And I'm so happy to know that you are creating this welcoming environment and atmosphere, because there are so many people, again, whether it's in an airport or at an event or at the grocery store, people come up to me all the time expressing exactly what we are talking about. And that they are looking elsewhere. And I speak at different Republican events as well. And what I encourage them to do is reach out and have a conversation with someone who might not feel welcome or comfortable to come to a room like that or a Republican event, but know that what President Biden and Kamala Harris and the Democrat elite are doing are not the answer. Reach out and have a conversation. Listen. Hear their concerns, share what's on your heart, and have these connections that are centered around not labels, but around our pride and appreciation to be able to live in this great country and the responsibility that comes with what it means to be an American citizen. There are a lot of people who are open-minded, a lot of common sense Americans who really do love our country. And what I'm experiencing in real time is sometimes all it takes is literally just reaching out with what we in Hawaii call aloha, with kindness, with respect, and don't prejudge people based on, and I've experienced this a lot, Lara, with Republicans coming at me saying, oh, well, you used to be a Democrat, I can't trust you. Or you used to be a Democrat, and so therefore expletive, slur, smear, etc. We cannot change. We cannot fix what is broken in this country if we are unwilling to respect each other and reach out to each other as fellow Americans who cherish peace and freedom and who truly do love this great country.
Yeah, you know what? My way of thinking is, even if you decided today that you are on board and you have the same goals and vision for the future of this country, I want you on the team. Everyone is entitled to change their mind and have a change of heart about whatever it is. And I don't like that either. There are a lot of people, you're right, who get really dug into, well, this person said, 5 years ago, X, Y, and Z about your father-in-law. I'm like, well, where are they today? Yeah. Are they on the team today? And if you are, and if you want to win and you want this country to turn back around, if you want it to return to the people, then you can be on the team with me as far as I'm concerned. So I couldn't agree with you more on that. I do want to ask you, as a former congresswoman, I'm always curious to get people's viewpoints about term limits. Obviously, we have term limits for the president of the United States, but you talked about Nancy Pelosi calling you right after you won your primary in Hawaii. She's been there for quite a long time.
And she's running for re-election right now.
Of course she is, Tulsi. What do you think about term limits?
It's a good question, and it points to the bigger problem of entrenched politicians who are funded by special interests. I've never really come out in strong support of term limits for two reasons. Number one is I've seen, and there have been some case studies in states that have implemented term limits, that it doesn't actually solve the problem, because you end up having a revolving door of elected leaders who don't, who are, let's say it's 2 years, 4 years, 6 years, whatever the term limit may be. The special interest lobbyists and the corporate elitist big money, they simply redirect their attention away from that elected member because they're not going to be around. Why invest time and money into them? And instead focus on the unelected bureaucrats, chiefs of staff, professional staff members who will be the ones that stick around, who a new member of Congress getting elected will immediately go to someone, oh, you're a chief of staff, you've been here for a long time, you know how the system works, you know the issues. Tell me, how should I vote on this issue? Who should I be listening to and talking to? So it doesn't actually solve the root of the problem, which, Nancy Pelosi gets a majority of her money from these big corporate PACs who are representing special interests and don't have any care for the interests of the people. The second problem that I see with term limits, so that has to be addressed. That must be addressed. The second issue is that, let's say you do have a member of Congress that is doing the right thing, is doing a good job, has courage to speak the truth and speak truth to power, uphold the Constitution. Arbitrary term limits would say, too bad, that guy's doing a good job, but there goes the door, and maybe you get somebody else who's not actually doing the job and doesn't have that same courage. So ultimately, it takes away our right and our responsibility as voters to hold accountable politicians who are not upholding the Constitution and are serving themselves instead of the people, and also vote for those who are doing the right thing and doing a good job.
Yeah, no, it's very interesting, and you bring up very good points. A lot of people say, "Oh, we have to have term limits," but you're right. If it's not the elected official himself or herself or themself, if you want to use crazy pronouns that don't make any sense because it's one person, but I digress. Yeah, then they're probably going to somebody who's on the staff who's always going to be around.
I've seen it happen.
Yeah, I can only imagine. Before we let you go, you and I share a love and a passion for working out, CrossFit, for all this stuff. I recently had Natalie Eva Marie on. She was telling me
she's awesome.
She got to work out with you. How do I get in on these workouts? When are we planning something? I know our schedules are crazy, but I feel like if the three of us got together, Tulsi, that's it, game over. Everybody else is done. Watch out.
Here's what I want to do. And maybe it can happen sooner than later. I'm planning something around Memorial Day. I'll send you the details later. But here's what I want to do. We all three of us got to get together. We would have so much fun. Yes. I've told you about the tactical games I'm getting into, which is basically the best things in the world combined of CrossFit style fitness combined with shooting under high physical duress. I did it once before. I had such a blast. I want the three of us to get together. We can just do the three of us and have a fun training day, smoke ourselves physically, have some fun shooting. And, I think all three of us are pretty competitive. We can have a little friendly competition amongst us.
I would say we're very competitive people. That's what I love about it, because and that's the beauty of going. People always think, I used to think anybody who goes to CrossFit is crazy, but you push each other and that's what makes you better. And it's really kind of like a metaphor for life. I want people around me pushing me to be the best version of myself, pushing me to do the best I can do on a workout or whatever it is.
Absolutely.
So I'm down. I'll be looking out for whatever we got coming down the pike. Tulsi Gabbard, you were such a breath of fresh air. Thank you for your sincerity, your honesty, your willingness always to speak your mind and talk to anybody who is willing to listen, because I think it is so important for your message to get out. Where can people find the book if they want to purchase?
Thank you so much for your kind words, Lara. It's been so awesome getting to know you, and I'm looking forward to, I'm sure our paths will be crossing over these next several months.
Yes, ma'am.
As we travel across the country and fighting to save our country. My book, For Love of Country, it's available on Amazon, Barnes & Noble. You can get a signed copy at tulsigabbard.com. Or if you're an audiobook person, I recorded and narrated the book myself. There's a couple of little surprises you'll find in there that you won't get in the hardcover book. So you can get that on Audible or wherever you get your audiobooks. I appreciate the support. Please help me deliver this critical message to you, your friends, or your family at this very important time.
Yeah, buy it for a Democrat and just give it to them like low key. Oh, I got
Exactly.
you something. Yeah, just maybe get them thinking a little bit.
Yes.
Tulsi, thank you so much to everybody at
you.
home. Thank you for joining us. Make sure you like, subscribe, share, and follow. We'll see you back here next time for more of The Right View.
And I won't back down. Hey, baby, there ain't no easy way out.
Nothing is worse than being on a phone call that drops. Nothing is worse than trying to text someone and you can't reach them because your phone is out of service range. And nothing is worse than supporting these major corporations and companies who don't support us. That is why I love Patriot Mobile. They are America's only Christian conservative wireless network. They use every cell tower out there available to all networks so that they have the greatest 4G and 5G coverage nationwide. And they support the causes that are important to us as conservatives. If you go today to patriotmobile.com/Lara Trump and use the promo code Trump, you will get free activation today. Again, that is patriotmobile.com/Lara Trump. The promo code is Trump for free activation so that you can get a great cell plan and feel good about doing it.